Guess what? It's now 2021. You know what that means? It's the 40th anniversary of the Gargantuan Gorilla! Yeah, wow, can you believe it? Donkey Kong's been around for 40 years, and he doesn't look a day over 30. So to celebrate 4 decades of monkey business, I'm KyleUniverse, and this is the top 10 Donkey Kong games.
Okay!
Number 10.
Not really a Donkey Kong game, but I guess we can still count it. Diddy Kong Racing came out a little bit after Mario Kart 64, but what stood it apart was the ability to race multiple vehicles. Not only could you pilot a kart, but you could also fly a plane and drive a hovercraft. Honestly, for me, the hovercraft was kind of a beating, and I wasn't a big fan of it, but the plane more than makes up for it. Kinda makes me wonder why there aren't more plane racing games out there. So the evil Whiz Pig has come to the island to cause trouble, and Diddy and his friends must race to defeat him. Makes sense? And hey, this was the first appearance of fan-favorite characters Banjo and Conker. But this game was a lot of fun. It's just a shame that the sequel was cancelled. But hey, there's still time.
Number 9.
Now some might wonder why Donkey Kong Country 3 is so low on this list. And it's not that it was a bad game. Far from it, actually. Graphics-wise, it's the best looking out of any of the DK Country Super Nintendo games. I mean, look at these water levels! This is beautiful! But other than the look, it just felt a little underwhelming. Still a lot of fun, but just not as good as the other SNES country games. But with that being said, it was still a good gaming experience, and a few new things were thrown into the mix, like these memory mini-games, and utilizing as much of the Super Nintendo's 3D abilities as possible. And if you're a fan of Northern America and Canada, this is the Donkey Kong game for you, because most levels have a wooded outdoorsy theme to them, with an entire family of bears sprinkled throughout for good measure. Not the best DK country game, but still good.
Number 8.
Oh, here we go. The original Donkey Kong Arcade. The first appearance of not only Donkey Kong, but the most popular video game character of all time, Mario, whom at that time was referred to as Jumpman. Just like when it was released 40 years ago, it's still a lot of fun to play. I think most people would recognize the first stage of climbing the structure to rescue Pauline, even if they never played the game. Like the Pac-Man maze, it's such a recognizable level. It's the classic story of ape steals woman and hero comes to save her. Who would have thought that this would become one of the greatest arcade games of all time that we'd still be discussing all these years later? But you know what? It deserves it.
Number 7.
What? KyleUniverse, you are crazy! Putting Donkey Kong Jr. higher on the list than the iconic original Donkey Kong? Yeah. You can call me cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs, but I honestly think that the sequel to the arcade classic is a better game. And I just want to say that the first game is great. There's nothing wrong with that. But Donkey Kong Jr. is a good example of what a good sequel should be. It takes what works about the original and adds on to it, making for what I think is a much superior gaming experience. So Mario is now the bad guy, and he is holding Donkey Kong captive, leaving his son, Donkey Kong Jr., with the task of saving him. Much like the first game, you have to make it from the bottom of the stage to the top, avoiding all sorts of projectiles. Only this time, there's a little bit more variety. You're not just jumping over enemies and obstacles, but also climbing, which plays a big part in this. And there is a bit of strategy to it, whereas you can climb up normally with one vine, or you can use 2 vines to double your speed. I know lots of people are going to disagree, but yeah, this game may not be as iconic as the original, but honestly, I think it's better.
Number 6.
After a while of being absent, we returned to Donkey Kong Country in a beautiful new way. And beautiful is right. Take a look at these awesome landscapes. They're truly a work of art. DK Country Returns is a great entry to the series, and it introduces a whole bunch of cool features, most notably the level design. The silhouette stages are really creative, and even feature a few Easter eggs in the background. And I like how Diddy is holding onto Donkey Kong's back, allowing him to get an extra boost from his rocket. And let's not forget being able to go into the background of certain levels. This is a really cool feature. Now, I don't really have a problem with this game, but if I were to nitpick, I would say I'm not a big fan of the motion controls, because it feels like it was an afterthought, you know, almost like they felt that, okay, this is a Wii game, so we have to do some kind of motion control, but it doesn't really play into the gameplay at all, so I kind of just feel like the game could have done without it. And also, the new villains aren't as cool as the Kremlings, but, I mean, they do the job okay, I guess. But don't expect to see Tiki Tong in Smash Brothers anytime soon.
Number 5.
Upon playing Donkey Kong for Game Boy, it's not what you would expect it to be. Like a lot of games at the time when it was ported from the arcade to other consoles, it was just a direct transfer, and at first you would think that this game would do the same. The first 4 levels are the ones from the arcade game, but then it reveals, uh-oh, Donkey Kong is not defeated yet, and now there are 97 more levels to get through. Dang, that's a lot. And it must have been really surprising back then. It's like, imagine if Super Mario Bros. Was ported to the Switch, and when you made it to the last castle, a whole expansion of levels then opens up, and you're told that you have to go through 90 more levels to save the princess? That would be amazing. And for Donkey Kong Game Boy, it's not just new levels, but new abilities. Mario can now do backflips to help him progress. And most areas are about finding a key that will open up the next stage. And on occasion, you even do battle with Donkey Kong by throwing a barrel at him. There's some poetic justice to that.
Number 4.
Okay, who doesn't remember the awesome DK rap of Donkey Kong 64? That was amazing, wasn't it? And when you saw that Nintendo let a swear word slide into it, like, how does that even happen? Of course they fixed it later when the song came back in Smash Bros. But King K. Rool is back and about to blow up Kong Island, and Donkey Kong and his friends have to stop him. In this adventure, you have the ability to play 5 different Kongs in your quest to take down the diabolical crocodile. Like most 3D platformers, you have a lot of creative levels to explore. If you're familiar with most of Rare's games, you know what you're going to get. An A+ gaming experience. This was actually one of the best 3D platformers of the late 90s in my opinion. Sure, it was kind of annoying when you made it to an area only to find out that you needed to come back with another character in order to do what was required to finish the level, but to be honest, the whole thing was so much fun that it didn't really take away from the overall experience.
Number 3.
Back in the 90s, the Donkey Kong franchise hadn't been relevant in years. Then this awesomeness burst onto the scene. Donkey Kong Country served as a somewhat reboot, and every game in the series has taken after it to this day. Probably the most amazing thing about it was its use of 3D models. Yeah, every character was rendered in 3D, and it really made everything pop. And of course, we can't forget all the awesome music tracks that this game created. This is still some of the best music in video games, and who doesn't remember how much fun the minecart levels were? Add in a bunch of animal buddies to help you out, and the introduction of your little buddy Diddy, and you have one of the best games on the Super Nintendo.
Number 2.
Taking place right after Donkey Kong Country returns, Tropical Freeze introduces a new group of enemy penguins that want to cause trouble for our favorite gorilla on his birthday of all days. Only this time, Diddy, Dixie, and Cranky join the adventure. Dixie has her trademark helicopter hair, and Cranky can pogo jump just like Scrooge McDuck. And hey, however, it is much harder than a lot of the games that came before it. I found myself dying quite a few times. But hey, the point is, it never frustrated me enough to stop playing. On the contrary, it made me want to play it more. And that's how you know you're dealing with a great game.
Number 1.
This is what I'm talking about. The number 1 spot on this list has to go to Donkey Kong Country 2, Diddy's Conquest. We got the introduction of Dixie Kong, a wider variety of levels, and a whole lot more animal buddies. And did I mention the music? Forest Interlude, Sticker Brush Symphony, and my favorite, Mining Melancholia. All of these are masterpieces, and who doesn't remember Cackle in the Library? I feel like I could just go on and on about this game, but if you guys haven't played this for yourselves, I urge you to. Trust me, you will enjoy what I believe is the greatest Donkey Kong game of all time. And strangely enough, it hardly has any Donkey Kong in it. Huh.